Alright, both players done mulliganing. We got myself playing niv-mizzet on the play here against Ruben playing Esper control. If you are a fan of control mirrors, you're gonna be a fan of this game. I'm gonna say that in advance. Maybe a slight spoiler alert, but yeah, this is a fantastic game. Watch this one. Both players starting off on a Malta 6, and myself starting with Forest Abundant Growth, and Ruben starting on Polluted Delta. Ruben, pretty good player. I think he could be better, but yeah, of course, a lack of practice due to COVID is not gonna really be helping with that. But that's fine. Pillar of the Parents coming out, and a Renin 6. Pillar of the Parents, of course, making 5 colors of mana, but only for multicolored spells. Which, yeah, this deck has plenty of. So no worries there. Ruben cracking the Polluted Delta. Yeah, it's been a while. Players are kind of rusty. It seems like a Watery Grave is shocked here. Because not everyone has a Magic Online account. It's I mean, Magic in and of itself is already a really expensive hobby, and then have your deck twice. But that sweet Mystical Archive opt coming out from Ruben scries to the bottom. Like, those Mystical Archives have had some really incredible artworks. Like, Wizards in that aspect has been killing it the past few, I want to say the past few years. Like, just the alternate art versions of cards have been fantastic. Of course, there are some points where they could definitely be improving, but the Mystical Archives, as far as I'm concerned, is not one of them. Those opts are gorgeous, and they're not the only ones. That's for sure. But yeah, that's a great start from my deck here. Just looping the Prismatic Vista using Renin 6. Get my mana started. Because in a long game, you want to get your mana under you. Be able to cast your spells, actually be able to play. And slow start coming out from both sides. Now, normally, niv-mizzet is a deck that has a slow start just on the basis of the deck being pretty much 2-drop, 3-drop tribal. Unfortunately, all good 1-drop 2-color cards have been banned. And I say all good ones because there are a few that are still they are legal. I don't want to call them playable. They are awful. I think the best one I can think of is Judge's Familiar. It costs 1 Azorius hybrid mana, and does it do? I think it's like a Mausoleum Wanderer kind of effect. Whereas you can sack it to counter something. Nahiri, the Harbinger, coming out from my deck, meanwhile. Yeah, I think Judge's Familiar is like the best 2-colored 1-drop that's still legal. Of course, the best one ever printed, as Mana Leak comes out for Nahiri. The best one ever printed, of course, is going to be Deathrite Shaman. For those of you who play Pioneer and have never seen Deathrite Shaman actually do anything, add fetch lands. I promise you, that card is going to wreck house. It does so much if you if you play it in a format where you can actually enable it. Making mana, pressuring life total, it's just main deckable graveyard hate. The card does too much. And you don't even need to commit to both of its colors. It's so good. Fetch lands bring that card to a whole new level. Now, that land Ruben is playing, I think it is the filter land. Those expedition lands, like, they're beautiful, but sometimes you just kind of have to stare at, like, what am I looking at again? Yeah, it's the filter land. That I know for sure. But yeah, the Niftalite deck is usually a deck that starts off slow, as is Control. But in a mirror like this, the Niftalite deck doesn't want to be too slow. Because when you really go big, the Esper Control deck, any kind of actual Control deck is just gonna be able to pick you apart. The Niftalite deck, while being great at grinding out games, needs to actually have its value pieces to be able to do it. Things like Niv, or we're gonna see that one later, Tybalt. But here's a Niv. Wow, that is on point. But yeah, those actual that actual engine needs to resolve, and we can see here a Snapcaster Mage coming out from Ruben. He's gonna mana leak it, and that's kind of the problem with the Niv deck in this matchup. Your actual ways of refueling are gonna get slowly picked apart one by one, and when that happens, you usually don't have anything to pressure the control matchup. Now, currently, these games being played are before the release of Modern Horizons 2, and in Modern Horizons 2 there are two cards that people are looking at that might actually end up helping, I believe, in this matchup. I'm not sure if they're gonna make it like the easiest matchup ever. Definitely not that good. But the cards I'm talking about are Territorial Kavu. It's a 2 mana. It's a red mana and a green mana for a creature that grows with the amount of basic land types you have. So, in theory, it's a 2 mana 5/5 that you can just play on curve, which it's fantastic already. As the Omnath coming out here, getting countered, bouncing Renin 6. I believe I forgot to activate Renin 6, which means I couldn't actually kill the Snapcaster Mage. That's a little unfortunate, but it happens. But yeah, the Kavu, aside from just being a 2 mana 5/5, also when it attacks, you either discard a card and then draw a card, or you exile up to 1 card from a graveyard, I believe. It might be just your opponent's graveyard, but either way, like that's just upside. That's just, it's additional flavor. You're already playing a 2 mana 5/5. The card seems pretty good. And Ruben here playing a Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. That's not what you want to be seeing. Ruben trying to take over this game, putting a lot of pressure here. The other card that Niftalite is now looking for is General Ferris Rokric. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, which is essentially a monastery mentor that has hexproof for monocolored spells. Of course, it doesn't actually trigger on monocolored spells, but it doesn't make 1/1 prowess creatures. It just makes straight up 4/4 golems, and is almost impossible to get rid of. So the card is looking fantastic. As we get Vanishing Verse, exiling the Snapcaster Mage. Vanishing Verse, one of the new Strixhaven cards. It is a white and a black mana for an instant that says exile target monocolored permanent. So won't unfortunately get rid of the Teferi, but will take care of the Snapcaster Mage. So I won't be dying on the spot here. Now, I believe in the footage I may have missed a point of damage of the Prismatic Vista, but I'm not sure on that. Another Abundant Growth coming out. Drawing me a card. Turning my land into a rainbow land. Abundant Growth, kind of reminiscent of Arkham's Astrolabe, card that's had been dominating a couple formats until it was banned in each one. It was originally Pauper, because they printed it at common. Don't know what they were thinking with that. Then it was good in Modern, in this deck, and a couple others. It got banned in Modern. We saw it a while in Legacy. It got banned there. Assassin's Trophy coming out here, trying to get rid of the Teferi. Because that Teferi is a hell of an engine. Just drawing a card extra every turn, making some mana. Just really solid card all around. But yeah, Astrolabe was kind of homogenizing decks left and right. In Pauper, the problem was it was just too good a draw engine when combined with Glinthawk. Like every deck just had to play 4 Astrolabe, 4 Glinthawk, just create value, which that wasn't healthy. That was not healthy for the game. Then in Modern, it kind of created these Euro piles that just played all the good cards and then Euro and just completely went to town. That wasn't too great either. Ren 6 coming back down, but Mana Leak gonna stop that from happening. And then Legacy is probably the format where it's most contested. It was accused of making mana bases too easy, just adding too many colors all around, but the banning seems to have kinda destroyed control decks. Chase coming out from Ruben. That's a good card. That's gonna generate a hell of a lot of value. Ruben is definitely in a good spot here. So, but yeah, in Legacy, people accused it of just making mana bases too easy. They banned it, and now it seems Control is in a pretty bad spot. As a result, you see the rise of combo decks again. Because, well, yeah, who's gonna stop the combo decks, right? There were also people saying it made it impossible to play Wasteland. I think that is maybe a bit overrated in how bad that actually was a thing. But it definitely made it worse. That I'll see that much. And people always, as a Bring to Light comes out, people always accuse it of just being too free. too easy to play with no real cost attached to it. Which that one I kind of disagree with, because you are still putting a mana in it, which in a format like Pauper or a format like Modern, yeah, that doesn't matter. In Legacy, you're essentially taking off a turn, or not casting one of your actual good cantrips, because sure, it cantrips, but the comparison with Brainstorm is non-existent. You'd rather be casting your Brainstorm, but if you're spinning your wheels because you have to put an Astrolabe into play, that's not really gonna make you better. Bring to light finding Valky here, which means I'm gonna be casting a Tybalt. Now, some of you may remember Tybalt from the Turbo Cascade version of the deck, where you could just, in some cases, just play a turn 1 Tybalt and it just completely took over the game. It was insane. They changed Cascade rulings specifically for this card, and they had to. It was too good. That being said, they didn't change this card. They changed how Cascade works, which means that other ways of cheating it into play, like casting a Bring to Light, for example, those still work perfectly fine. Of course, the difference between a 3-mana Tybalt and a 5-mana Tybalt are substantial, sure. There's definitely a cost there. But you're a Bring to Light deck. You just play a one-off Tybalt, and whenever you need him, not just a Bring to Light deck, it's a Yorion Bring to Light deck. Ruben playing Snapcaster Mage here in response. Casting Opt. He wants to see what's on top of his deck and maybe. Oh no! Ruben brainstormed using Jace and is now getting rid of the top card of his deck so that I don't get it. That's what's happening here. And now Tybalt exiles the top card of each player's library, and he's exiling 2 lands. That's not what you want to see as a Tybalt. Now, to be fair, you can play the lands, and you can crack the lands. That works. It's perfectly fine. Even if Tybalt is no longer on the field, you can still play the land, because Tybalt makes an emblem, and the emblem is the card that actually says you can cast things exiled by Tybalt. So that's great. Jay's gonna brainstorm again. So for those of you who've forgotten what Tybalt does, he exiles the top card of each player's library. That's a +2. He can also exile a creature or an artifact, -3, I believe. Yeah, -3. And then -8 exiles all cards from all graveyards, and then adds 3 red to your pool. Now, the 3 red can actually be used to cast whatever you exile, because the things you cast, you can kind of smooth it out. The colors of mana don't matter. So let's say I exile a Cryptic Command, I can cast it with 4 red. That works. It's perfectly fine. Claws, they put a lot on these kinds of effects. Not always. For example, Ragavan in Modern Horizons 2, I believe, still needs the correct colors of mana, but he makes the treasures to actually have the colors, so that's somewhat okay. But Tybalt's like, yeah, no, you put me into play, just spend whatever mana you have, man. I don't care. Just spend it, and we're good. But yeah, Tybalt, if left unanswered, is a fantastic value engine, because you're just drawing an extra 2 cards every turn. It's, in that regard, pretty similar to 5-mana Teferi, Teferi Hero of Dominaria we saw a few moments ago. But instead of untapping 2 lands, you're also drawing one of your opponent's cards, essentially, which is really good. It's really good. I've even actually countered my opponent's combo deck in Legacy by casting their Force of Will. Now, I went back and asked if I could actually pay Force of Will's alternate cost. I can. So, yeah, you can totally pay for the alternate cost of a Force of Will or a Force of Negation in Modern, of course. You can. In that particular situation, I couldn't, because I didn't have any blue cards in hand. But if I did, I could have. But it saved my ass, definitely. My opponent was playing Splinter Twin. It was game 3 and I didn't know they had Splinter Twin. As Ruben plays another Teferi Hero of Dominaria, and now tucks Teferi. Not Teferi, Tybalt. That is a problem. That Tybalt was pretty much my only way out here. And now it's third from the top. And as soon as it's on top of my library, Ruben is gonna plus his chase. He's gonna look at the Tybalt and he's gonna tell me put it at the bottom. So that Tybalt is essentially dealt with. And now Ruben is sitting on a Snapcaster Mage, a Teferi Hero of Dominaria, and a Jace the Mind Sculptor, and I'm in top deck mode, pretty much. That's a problem. I really needed that Tybalt. Start drawing me some cards, play some of my opponent's counter spells. That was my way of getting back. Instead, I hit double land and then die to my opponent's Teferi. I play a 3-mana Teferi. I don't think it might resolve. That's an opt. Ruben seems to be looking for a Force of Negation. Doesn't find it, so Teferi definitely resolves. Goes up, so Ruben is gonna have to deal with it using the Snapcaster Mage. Because the Teferi is currently at 1. I mean, it's good, it's not that good. That would have been insane. If it could tuck and then tuck again. No, that's not fair. No, that's not nice. But like, even still, this game is pretty much over. Ruben is still brainstorming, trying to sculpt his hand, just get into a position where he can start fate sealing and just completely lock me out of the game here. And like this Teferi isn't actually gonna help me here. I think Ruben here is going for me. Yeah. Ruben realizes that like the Teferi, it kind of matters. It does turn off his counter spells, but doesn't really matter, to be fair. And this is what I mentioned at the start of the video. Both of these decks want to kind of grind out into a long game. But when it does actually go long, the control deck is going to be favored. Because the Niv deck can't actually put its pieces into play to actually play the long game. And we see that. We had a Niv that was countered. We had a Nahiri that was countered. We had Omnath that was countered. The Renin 6 was first bounced, then countered. We had a Bring to Life for a Valky. The Valky was tucked. And I'm getting rid of the Snapcaster Mage here using Kaya's Guile. Ruben has to sack a creature and I make a 1/1 flyer. The 1/1 flyer is definitely nice to have. It's gonna give me just that little bit of breathing room that I need, but it's not enough. There is still a Jace brainstorming every turn. There is still a Teferi drawing him an extra card every turn, and that Valky isn't going into my hand. There's nothing I'm doing here. As the Teferi coming down and getting countered by Archmage's Charm. And there's no Teferi on the field. I'm not sure what the pulse is, but because the Nif deck does not play any counterspells. Sometimes you'll see Drown in the Lock. I think Drown in the Lock is a fantastic card if you if you're expecting like a control heavy meta. I certainly wasn't. But against control decks, the Drown is fantastic. I seem to have put Yorion into my hand here, trying to resolve that, trying to just find some sort of pressure here against Ruben, but it's hard. It's difficult here. Ruben bait sealing the Valky and kind of fate sealing me here. Going to the bottom. So yeah, the Niflite needs to find that one threat it can actually put down and then run with it. You do not have time to let Esper Control put down a Jace and a Teferi and just try and run away with the game, because that's not going to end well. But, you know, sometimes that's how it goes. That's how it goes. Now cracking my opponent's Flood Strand, as you can see, like Tybalt, it really is a fantastic card if you can keep it on the field, which normally against most control decks is pretty doable, but it is susceptible to a Teferi tucking it, which against control you basically need to protect it for one turn and then hope you hit a counterspell. As soon as you hit a counterspell, that thing's not going away. Your opponent knows it, you know it. But yeah, when they have an answer for the Tybalt, then that's looking kind of silly. Now, to be honest, it's possible I should have conceded here. There's not too much time left in the round. There are two of the best Planeswalkers ever printed staring me down, and they're going up. Now, I do have that spirit, but that spirit ain't gonna do it. Like, it's not going at Ruben. It's a stopgap against one of them, one of the two Planeswalkers. It's like even against Jace. Jace Fate Sealing is a +2. The Flyer is a 1/1. Like, I'm not going to be able to stop the Jace. I'm going to be able to keep the Teferi down, but even then, the Teferi is gonna continue to just draw Ruben cards. So that's not going to work. But we're still here. We're still playing. I forgot about the Yorion. To be fair, Yorion, if it resolves, draws me a bunch of cards here, because I do have the 2 Abundant Growth on the field. But that is... No, I have 3 Abundant Growth on the field, sorry. But that's if. And then we have the Drown in the Lock from the Esper Control deck. Esper Control does play a Drown, because Drown is actually a really good card. It's highly underrated. It really is. Yorion gets countered, and at this point, I should definitely have said, let's go to game 2. Because I'm thinking, I have to think about am I going to win this? How much time do we have in the round? Because if I'm not winning this, I got a gun for game 2. But I'm not. And that's on me. And now Ruben plays Archmage's Charm and says, you know what? That's a nice token you have there. I'd love it. I'm not sure if he did that because he's actually trying to kill me, or if he did that because he has so much value in his hands that it doesn't matter either way. But he's definitely gonna try and kill me with that. It's. I think it's probably the it's a good play. I don't know if it's the correct one, but it works. Ruben fate sealing me again to the bottom. And I'm gonna cast the Kaya's Guile and say, you know what? That 1/1 flyer is pretty nice. I'd like it back, please. Technically, it's a new spirit, but fine. Got up coming out from Ruben here. Really, with all those brainstorms. Don't have a counter for this. Maybe you don't want to counter this. That's fair too. Fatal push. Get rid of the token. And now I have nothing going on. Like I said, I should have just conceded this 5, maybe 10 minutes ago. This is the power of control. That's why I said, if you love control mirrors, this is your game. This is what control looks like. And it's not for everyone. Not for everyone. If you're still here, if you're still watching, then it's probably for you. And it's definitely for me. So I don't mind casting this. I kind of mind casting this. I don't mind it for the matchup. I mind it because I don't want to cast my own games. But that's mostly because I've already seen them, you know? So Ruben here casting Esper Charm. Gonna make me discard 2 cards. Now I have 3 cards in hand, I believe. I'm just gonna throw them at Ruben because I'm throwing them either way, you know. Spell Snare, countering the Lightning Helix because why not? Another Kaya's Guile, probably exiling the graveyard here and making that damn spirit again. Because that spirit is definitely worth it. Archmage's Charm, countering the Kaya's Guile, unfortunate, but you know, I was gonna discard them anyway. The last card is Utopia Sprawl. So I figured, you know what? If I gotta discard one of those, might as well just cast them both. See if it works. And of course Ruben has counter spells. Of course! He's the control deck, of course! Of course he has counter spells. Fate sealing me. Couldn't quite make out what that was. But I think it went to the top. And I was like, oh yeah, let's see what's on top. But yeah. So this game 1 gonna go to Ruben. Even though I haven't actually conceded yet. Again, I need to concede faster. Definitely. Especially if I'm gonna be playing slow decks like niv-mizzet. And I love slow decks. Like, I love Magic. I'm sitting here because I want to play Magic, you know? Of course I'm gonna play a slow deck. Because I want to go to time every round. And that's game 1 finally being called. Now, for game 2, we both mulligan to 5. That's a great start. We also decided that, you know what, I don't really have a lot of time in the round where we're gonna try and play another game. Just roll with it. So it's not optimal play, but it's play. Hopefully we get a bit of interesting play still here. That that is a watery grave, I believe. Yeah, it is. Getting shocked in. But yeah, I'm here. If I'm at a tournament, I'm there to play Magic. I'm like, why would I want to stop playing when I'm having fun playing? You know what I mean? And like control, especially control mirrors. Like I used to play a lot of blue-white control because I loved the control mirror. Unfortunately, then they printed 3-mana Teferi, a Time Raveler, and at that point it just became, okay, who can resolve Teferi Time Raveler first, and that player wins, and it completely sucked the fun out of the mirror, and I just had to put down the deck a bit. That I'm also personally not a huge fan of Stoneforge Mystic, which I get it's a good card. I get it's a good card in like the blue-white control, blue-white miracles kind of decks, but I'm not a fan of Stoneforge Mystic. Like it's whatever to me. But if it's your thing, you do you. Like, don't let me knock on your deck. If you love Stoneforge Mystic, if you're a Miracles player, maybe you're a Death and Taxes player, like you do you. But it's not for me. And yeah, it's kind of a shame. I kind of lost my interest in just the deck because of Teferi Time Traveler. And around that time was the rise of Niv. It was just coming out of the woodworks around that time, and it just came on my radar. I played it a couple games, and as I was sitting there, I was like, "This is the deck I've been looking for." You know what I mean? And like, I haven't been playing Magic that long, right? I have been playing since Ixalan, actually. Since Ixalan actually went straight into Modern, which, like, they want you to either draft or go into Standard. I was like, nah. I know which format I want, and it's Modern. And that was probably the best decision I've ever made in this game. Let's be honest. My second best decision was picking up Legacy, and the only reason it's second best is because I absolutely loathe and despise the reserve list. Like anyone who's ever talked to me about the reserve list will know that I hate that thing with a fiery passion. But the format is fun. Like Legacy is actually fun to play. It's had its ups and downs over the past few years. Actually, since I started playing, it's been kind of going up and down. I started playing like right before Oko became a thing. Like right after they released Modern Horizons 1 and Astrolabe came into the format. Which apparently, like people tell me that the Legacy was at its best like right before that. So sorry I missed it, I guess. But Legacy is still fun. It's still really enjoyable. So and it's kind of sad to see it die off the reserve list. But anyway, I've been playing Magic since Ixalan. Mana Leak taking out my Nahiri in the meantime. I've been playing since Ixalan. Before that, and like some people, when I say this to, they're like unclean. They're like, get out with that. We don't want that. Thankfully, there are a lot of people who are just really chill about it. But I've been like my high school years. I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Because back then is when the game was at its best, as far as I'm concerned. It was like right at the beginning of Synchro era. The game wasn't as completely insanely fast as it is now. And when I saw Niv for the first time, I realized this is the Yu-Gi-Oh deck I've been playing for 6 years at that point. Like, that was... Since I started playing Magic, I had been looking for that deck. Just a bunch of interaction, a lot of value, maybe a bit of graveyard synergy, but mostly just top decking bombs and just grinding out value. And your top end is a big ass freaking dragon. If you know which deck I'm talking about, leave it in the comments. But yeah, no, I saw Niv and was like, this is the deck I've been looking for. This is the deck I want. And it just immediately clicked. To the point where I eventually even committed to building the deck in Legacy. Which I've been kind of going around in Legacy. I played a bit of Painter. I played some Bomberman. Bomberman I had some fantastic success with. I played some Check Pile. Wasn't quite it for me. Still, all these 3 decks are fantastic decks. I love them. But the work I put in with Niv is... Like, I love that deck, and I'm just so proud of where it ended up, you know? so proud that I'm now talking about it and kind of letting this game go on for itself. That's... You know? And, like... you all gotta have a deck like that, right? A deck that... When you sit down and you talk about your history with that deck, and you just kind of lose yourself in the moment. Right? You gotta have a deck like that. And maybe you're still playing it. Maybe it's a deck that you're not really playing anymore. Because it's no longer playable. Maybe some cards got banned. Maybe it just didn't keep up with the rest of the meta. Like, it happens, you know? But... Like, I'm sure everyone watching this has at least some deck that they have some sort of connection with. And that's what I love about Magic. Like, you got something that you can do, whether it is a deck or a specific format, or maybe you're not even playing, like you got a store and you're selling that stuff, and you love that, and it's unique for everyone, and that's what I love about Magic, you know? It's just, whatever you're doing, you got that one thing that you know you love, and you could talk about it. So the game ends, and you're supposed to end the video, but you're still talking about it. You fucking love this game.